Welcome back to the Fearless Females Voice podcast, where women's stories and experiences are shared to empower and inspire others. On this episode, I am joined by Sim, who is a hair and makeup artist. I first met Sim last year at a dinner and we hit it off straight away. We spoke all night long and shared the same views around women and their development, and I had to get her on my podcast to share her story. Sim went to university, got married, and then moved abroad to live with her husband. This all sounds great, but if only life was that simple. Just like other women, she's faced cultural and societal barriers which have imposed certain beliefs on herself. She used to think life had to be a certain way, only to then have the realization that there is no right or wrong way. On this episode, Sim shares how she's broken down the barriers for herself, her learnings about marriage and life, the importance of women putting themselves first, and how she's found herself. She is just as passionate as I am around these topics and has grown so much as an individual and in her marriage to form a strong unit with her husband. This is an incredible listen for all you ladies out there, so without further ado, let's get stuck in. We met, I can't remember when, was it in November, September, October, November time?
I think it was September time. I was doing a booking and you were one of the guests at the wedding.
Yes, and I remember going into the restaurant because you joined us for dinner, and I sat next to you and I was really ready to mingle with everyone. I was ready to dig into my dinner, and next thing you know, me and you just ended up chatting for the whole evening. I felt like I didn't even connect with anyone else. We were so in flow, right? We had such a vibe going on, and we had so many similarities.
We got to a point where we were like, okay, we need to stop and mingle.
Yeah, but then we mingled for like 2 minutes and then we were like, we're about to tell me more. It was just such a good, and other guests were seeing it as well. They're like, you guys really got on. And I was like, well, I did get her number and maybe, we'll keep in touch kind of thing. So, and we've kept in touch since. So I asked you to join me on this podcast because from that initial conversation that we had, I felt not only did we have a lot of similarities, but a lot of our viewpoints on life, on women, on identities, on society are very similar. So I'd love to almost recreate that and also give the listeners a bit more background into who you are and what you do. Okay. So let's start off with, what does being a fearless female mean to you?
I think being a fearless female basically means that you are genuine, you are true to yourself, you're not afraid to stand up for yourself or put yourself first. You're able to voice your thoughts and opinions respectfully. But I feel like with cultures like the Indian culture, we're always taught that our value is based on how we serve others. So are you a good mum to your children? Are you a good wife to your husband? Are you a good daughter to your parents? And so forth. And I just feel like people, especially Indian women, we need to realize that we do have so many things going on in our lives. We do have so many responsibilities and so many things that we need to do. But if we can just acknowledge them and then have the time to ourselves and be able to put our dreams and goals forward, I just feel like that is the epitome of being a fearless female, because it allows us to be compassionate, it allows us to have empathy, it allows us to also be the other side, which is fierce and hardworking and ambitious. And putting all those things together, I feel like you're only able to find your own balance once you can just sit back and just take it from there. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I always say the foundation is really knowing yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than trying to get a rule book and try to follow someone else's footsteps, it really comes down to figuring out what's best for you and going forward with that. So yeah, I think that's my idea of fearless.
I love it. And I like that you brought the Indian kind of society and culture into it as well, because there are so many traditions and also stereotypes, because I myself I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah,
and I've seen it in place with my friends and family, but I've been very fortunate enough to say that I haven't experienced it myself, just because the way that my family are. So I've been given the freedom, I've been given everything I needed to grow as a independent woman in a way. And that's really helped me get to where I am. So what was it like for you?
I think it was a mix of both, because my mum and my dad they basically came from very traditional cultures. They're both Punjabi, and they grew up. And my mum got married when she was 19. So one of her dreams was to educate herself and just go to university. So that was something that she instilled in us. So growing up, I had that kind of traditional background, but at the same time, we also had our own dreams and our own goals based on what we'd see in the media and on TV and everything around us. And it was just a constant battle between, are you Indian enough to be the Indian person that your parents want to be? But then are you Western enough to fit in with the world and move forward? And it was just kind of like almost yo-yoing back and forth between the two. So I think now I've gotten to a point where I'm comfortable in my own life, where I know who I am and what I can give to the world, and still be respectful to where I came from and where I want to go. But back then it was a real struggle between like East and West for me.
And let's talk a bit more about that, because what you currently do, you're a hair and makeup artist. You specialize in bridal makeup, bridal looks, and I would say it's not so much the traditional route. When I think of like the traditional Indian route, I think of, I don't know, a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer type thing. And doing something different, it's going against that norm, as well as, you know, what society is saying, this is what you should be doing. So can you tell us more about how that was for you? Actually thinking of, wow, this is what I want to do. This is my passion, and going forward with it as well.
Okay, so I've always been quite like a studious person at school. I've always loved like sciences and maths, and I always ended up wanting to be a dentist. Of all things, I know, I just wanted it because I grew up with really bad teeth. And then when I realized the transformation from my like crazy teeth into like a really nice set that I used to have, obviously not, but like a really nice set that I used to have, I saw the transformation in my confidence. So I wanted to give that to others. And I thought by being a dentist, I could do that. And obviously you still can, but I just felt like that wasn't my route, because I don't have to put this nicely, but it wasn't my mum's fault. But at the same time, she was like, if you're going to be a dentist, then you're going to start university at this age, you're going to finish at this age, and then you want to work for a couple of years, and then you're going to be too old. When are you going to find a boy and get married? And that was basically the reason why she was like, no, what other things that you want to do? And I have an older sibling. I've got two older sisters, and one of them was into like HR. So she used to recruit for finance and everything. So she was like, oh, why don't you do this course at Birmingham? And I went blindly into this course called Money, Banking and Finance. And I just did not know what I was doing with my life. And why should you? You're 18 years old. Why should you have to pick what you do for the rest of your life? It's so hard. So I went in thinking, you know what, let's just see how this goes. I ended up getting a job in investment management, which I absolutely loved. I love the company. I love the people. I love doing what I love doing. I love doing what I was working at. And I just felt like the other side of me was really passionate about arts. So my whole life growing up, I was always into arts. And it was just always the battle between like, do I want to have like a career which is going to bring me stability, or do I want to do something which I'm passionate about?
Well, we'll stop there. But at the time, when you're trying to balance between passion and stability, did you not think that you could actually have a mix?
Oh, okay, so that's right. So as I was working for this company, I realized that I was doing all of these makeup looks on the side, and I was doing them on friends and family. Friends and family were going to events, and then they were having friends and family see their looks, and they were like, who's your makeup artist? And it just grew through word of mouth. So it got to a point in my corporate career where, like, from I want to say May to September, for 4 years running straight, I was working Monday to Friday at my job, and then Saturday and Sundays I was doing bookings. And I was doing that, 7 days a week. And I felt so alive doing it. I cannot tell you, like, the hours for working was like 8 to 6, and then obviously Monday to Friday, and then weekends getting up at 2 o'clock to go to a booking. Like, normally people would be like, oh, I need a weekend to myself, but I was ready to go. And I was so happy to be doing what I love doing, and just seeing the transformation in people. It just like fueled me to want to do more. And it wasn't until I got married and moved to a different country and was physically pulled out of my job that I went from corporate life into business life.
So you were quite happy then juggling the two, because you enjoyed your corporate life as well, your finance role.
I loved it.
That's amazing. And it's interesting you said that you didn't mind putting in the hours. It just goes to show, when you're doing something you love and you're passionate about something, it doesn't matter. Work is just doesn't even feel like work, right?
No, it doesn't. It felt so good, just like seeing what I could do for people and how I could just like turn their confidence, like bring their confidence out of them and give them that kind of happiness to go into the event and just feel good about themselves. It was just something so special that I thought that I could just share with them. And I didn't realize how special it was until I started doing it full time. And I got like messages and DMs from people and like YouTube comments and all these like emails and everything. And they're like, you changed my life because of the way that you explained this. And now I feel like I'm more confident in wearing makeup. It's incredible.
I love that. So you did start full time once you moved abroad, is that right?
So when I moved abroad, I thought, what do I have? I have my operations experience, which is from the investment management company, and my husband owned a business. So I thought maybe I'll just transition into his business, see how I can fit in there. But the Philippines is very like geared towards entertainment. They love it when people look nice. They love it when people are singing and dancing and doing all the things that I love and I didn't think were a career. So I started doing more of those. And I didn't realize that it was a thing and you can make money from it. And it could be a career almost. Like I knew it from working when I was doing the clients back home, but I didn't realize the limits I was putting on myself until I went there and realized, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? Why am I putting these ceilings on myself? Like, why am I limiting myself to these kind of beliefs? Yes, I'm the one. I don't know if you've seen that picture of an orange and then it's got like a segment missing out of it and it's kind of like got a garlic clove in there instead.
I think I have seen that.
Yeah, and that describes my life moving to the Philippines, because I got married, I was an Indian woman, I had to fit into this mold of being a certain person, but then I had so many ideas and passions and wants and needs and dreams, and I just wanted to like burst open and do it all. It was a really, really fun transition.
Where did you find that mold come from? How did you actually, where did it come from? Like, how did you find it, this mold that you had to fit into?
I think society expectations.
Okay.
Like growing up, you just know that you go to school, you go to uni, you find a job, you get married, you have kids and so forth. And this whole kind of like timeline is laid out for you. And people are like pushing you along the way. Like, oh, haven't you gotten married yet? Oh, haven't you had kids yet? Are you going to have another one? And people are pushing you into this kind of mold where they think you're going to be happy from all of these things that you need in your life. You don't need these things. You don't need any of them. Everyone has their own journey. And what people don't realize is that not everyone's journey is the same. Even though people say it over and over again, you hear it all the time, but they don't realize. And so when I tell people that I am married to somebody in the Philippines, my life and my working life is in the UK, I leave and come away for months at a time. I live alone in London, in an apartment, without my parents, with nobody, like, and I'm just doing what I'm doing. And people are like, how? What about your husband? Do you know what I mean? Everyone's journey is so different.
I completely agree. It's so different. And it's nice that you said this whole education piece, because that's exactly what I've been through as well. I went through school and then education, and it's always like, oh, when are you going to find someone? You're getting to that age where it's like, when are you going to find someone?
I cannot believe
we get it all. But the thing is, as soon as I remember on our wedding day, I think it was on the day or the day after, someone was already like, so when are the kids? And I was like,
oh God,
are you kidding? I was like, we've just got married. And we still get that. We're 6 months into being married and I'm still getting the questions of, so when are the kids coming? And I'm like, we just want to chill and travel and enjoy life. Like, you know, they'll come when they come, but there's no pressure or limit for it. But I think as women as well, there are other factors outside of society when it comes to things like getting married or having children. One of my best friends got married when she was 25. And she'd always wanted to get married young, always wanted to have children young. So that was just her thing. And that was her. You know, you were saying everyone's journey is different.
Yeah.
And she has ingrained in us, me and the rest of my friends, that your body clock is ticking.
Oh my
God.
God.
Body clock is ticking. And that's all I remember. And even now I'm just like, my body clock is ticking. Like, you know, I'm getting older. I'm not in my 20s anymore. And it's almost like there's that pressure from that side as well, which I understand is more biological, but then society is bringing it on. And it's like, what direction do I take? I just want to do me.
I think it stems from almost like an insecurity. Like if you don't have them, then you're not going to be happy. If you don't have a husband, you're not going to be stable. If you don't have kids, who's going to look after you when you get older? And it's one of those things where there are so many advances in science, basically, that can help you have kids when you're older. Like,
Yeah.
yes, your biological clock might be ticking. I say that in quotation marks. But at the same time, so is your life. Like, do you want to live a life of regrets? Some women don't want children. What happens to their life? Do you know what I mean?
But it's really interesting with this whole marriage and having children piece as well, because I've come across many women who aren't fortunate enough to have had that freedom, the independence. You know how you're living your life as you are, I'm living my life as I am. Even before I was married, I was living for kind of 8 years on my own, doing my own thing. And that helped shape who I am. It helped me understand what I'm capable of, what my strengths are, the type of person I want to be with. But many women...
So important. I just want to stop you there. It's so important to figure these things out, because you need to have a life before you become a wife. And even when you do become a wife, you need to still have your own life, because it did get to a period of time in my marriage, and I'll be honest, where we were we were on different wavelengths. And we were just constantly missing each other. And I just felt like, hey, like, what about me? And he was like, hey, what about me? And then we realized that instead of trying to put the other person first, why don't we put ourselves first? And the other person can come second. And since we made that switch, we have just been like going like full on, both in our careers, both in our personal life, both together. I just feel like we're building up together. And it's such a nice way to change your mindset and just look at things, rather than, like I was saying before, we're always taught to put other people first. And you can't put other people first unless you put yourself first. My husband always says to me one thing. He was like, I will give you the world. I will do everything and anything for you. And you come before everyone else, but my dreams. Me and my dreams come first. And he goes, I want the same for you. And until you get to that stage, we can't do anything more. Like, you need to work on that first, and then we can move forward.
I love that he's given you that speech, that freedom to just go and do you.
Yeah.
But if someone was given this without having that, I guess, exploration of themselves beforehand, they may feel a bit lost, because I know many women who do depend on their partners, and vice versa, like men who depend on their partners. And that's absolutely fine. Exactly. Absolutely fine. But for me, in order to have grown in my relationship, like, even I remember when I was dating, I dated for a very long time because I could not meet someone who met my criteria. And it's almost like, I know it's true. Like, I was dating for ages. I was single for, I was single for 5 years. I was trying to figure out, okay, everyone I met, I was like, this isn't right. I just knew it wasn't right. The person wasn't right. There was something I didn't like. You know, it could be anything, but I just knew, because I know myself. Exactly. I know what I wanted. And I knew through being by myself, not even living by myself, but just exploring and understanding more about, okay, I'm going to put myself first. So I know what I want. And it really helped me understand, okay, what do I want from a partner? Exactly. But so many women miss this
that I hear from people these days, like, oh, he needs to be like of this amount of money, he needs to have this job, he needs to be this tall, he needs to look like this, from this family. And it's like, when you bring it down, those things don't matter. The only things that matter is he loyal, and does he make you laugh? Because then you're gonna be able to like go through life happy, right? And honestly, I had those kind of like that list from my family, not directly, but indirectly, because I could see like how they would try to pair other people up in my family, like my siblings and everything, and my cousins, and how aunties and my mum and everyone used to like try to pair them up to the right person, again in quotation marks. But the right person for you is not the right person for your mum or your dad or anyone, and you cannot figure out who that right person is for you unless you know yourself. And honestly, I don't think there's any right or wrong person for you in the world. It's who you meet at a certain time in your life where you are the person that you are. So all my single friends, I tell them, work on yourself. If you want to meet someone to a certain standard, you work on yourself and you make sure that you like bring yourself up. And only then you'll meet someone who you kind of align with.
Absolutely. When you know your values, when you're vibing on this other energy, you're going to be attracting that in. So how is it that you found yourself? How is it that you actually got to know more about that and explore before stepping into marriage or even dating?
I didn't, I'll be honest with you. I like I said, I was working in London, and I thought like, I had the world at my feet and I was just doing my own thing and I was living a great life. And I was living a great life. I was like going on holidays. I was experiencing so many different things. And it wasn't until I was pulled out of my comfort zone, which was the UK, being near my family, doing everything that I know that I do well, pulled out of that, moving to a completely different country whose first language isn't English. I had to learn how to communicate in their style, like saying the simplest sentence, like, is that done? It can cause them to like be thrown off. So you have to like change your sentences, like, is that have you completed it yet, or like where are we at with that? So I just had to learn how to speak to people in a different tone of voice, so to speak. Okay, so it wasn't until I was pulled out of everything that I know, moved to this country, and I felt like, who am I? And it wasn't until I explored myself, like, what do I like to eat? I already knew what my favorite kind of foods were, but like really pushing myself and really breaking down those barriers and like talking to different people. When I was actually in the UK, I was around people who were all in corporate jobs. I was around my family, around the same friends. When I moved over there, I met like entrepreneurs, I met housewives, I met aunties, I met like people who were running multi-million-dollar businesses, and we're all in the same room. So it wasn't until I was exposed to those kind of people and I thought, what do I bring to the table? And I really had to look inside and figure that out for myself. And I thought it was hair and makeup. I thought I can do that for people, and that's what I do. And I was just not getting the clients there. And I couldn't figure out why, what was going wrong. And I kept getting all my messages from people in the UK saying, hey, come back. We really want you to come back and do our makeup. But then I was based there and I was just like, this is my life. This is what I want to do. Is it? I didn't know. So it got to a point in 2019 where I said to my husband, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to do clients. I'm not enjoying them. And I basically packed my kit up and put it away. And a couple of days later, I got this bridal booking and she was the sweetest person. And I, like, because of her, my love for it came up again. And I realized that it's not doing hair and makeup that made me who I am. It's what I do to make people feel their best selves on their most special day. And my tool and my avenue is hair and makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that's where I kind of like found myself, because I lost myself in the process to find myself again. And I feel like that's so important. And when you're going through the process of losing yourself, it is the worst thing in the world. I was like crying, screaming. I was like going out for walks. I was going to the gym all the time. I didn't know what I was doing with my life. But it's just one of those things that you have to go down in order to come up.
But how were you feeling when you felt lost? Like, what exactly was going on?
I just thought, what am I doing? Like, I just felt so sad. I felt depressed. I felt like I had so much anxiety. I didn't know who to talk to. I wasn't enjoying like food, all the things that I was enjoying generally, food, dancing, like just all the things. They just weren't bringing me joy.
How did you deal with that there? Because you'd moved into the Philippines and you're in a new family, a new environment, new friends, new home, new everything.
Yeah. You need to find yourself a good set of women who are going to help you through this. And I cannot stress this enough. I've not grown up with a good female connection. Like, obviously, there's a lot of women in my family. So I do have a lot of women around me. But outside my family, I didn't have that many girlfriends. I'm just kind of person who keeps myself to myself. So when I moved to the Philippines, I needed to speak to people who had also moved to the Philippines, who had also experienced moving and just being in a different environment. And I found a group of friends, and every time I had an issue, I would go to them and they would talk through it with me. And it was just so nice having like somebody else to go to that wasn't your in-laws, wasn't your family, because obviously they're going to kick off and be like, what's going on? Why are you upset? What's wrong? Like,
what have we done wrong?
Nothing's wrong, so to speak, but it's just finding the people who can help you through these kind of situations.
And that's also difficult to have. So I've been very fortunate enough that I grew up with a very strong set of women friends, family members. Like, some of my best friends are my cousins. We get on really well. And I've been very fortunate with that. But I do recognize that not everyone has been. And they don't have that set or that group of women, because especially women, because it's almost like you can then relate to one another. They've also may have experienced this, and you get good feedback or good person to bounce ideas off of.
Definitely. I think going into it, it was kind of like you meet these women who had also moved to the Philippines or wherever you are. And then you're kind of like trying to say little things where, can I push it? Can I share things? Will they go and tell their family? Will they tell their friends? Can I trust them? And then you kind of like open up a tiny bit more of the bottle of wine, and you just carry on going forward. And I've now found some of the most like important people in my life through that, just by going through that short journey of me trying to figure out what I want to do. But yeah, it's so important to have women around you who are going through the same thing or who have been through the same thing. Some of my best friends are like 10, 15 years older than me. So I'm able to like reach out to them and get their like experience as well. But yeah, and another thing is having mentors. Like, I know lots of people say that for business, but I think for life, having a therapist, having a mentor, having a coach, just somebody that you can reach out to who can just guide you, because nobody knows what they're doing in life.
It's true. I've actually been there when I felt lost. So I've been lost in life. I've been lost in my career. And I had a coach to help me through that. I needed that. I had a mentor as well.
Yeah.
And it was invaluable for me. It's so worth it.
Yeah.
Just being able to go that next step further, because sometimes you can't figure it out by yourself. Sometimes you don't want your friend's advice or opinion. It's almost like you need to hear it from an outside. You need to hear it from an outside source to really be like, oh, even though your friend was saying probably the same thing, like for me, it clicks when I'm like, oh, I'm hearing it from someone new. It's like a different kind of relationship that you have with them.
I also, when it comes from like your friends and your family, they want to say like things that are going to encourage you. You're just like, oh, you don't understand.
That's not what I need right now.
But you can take criticism from people who have been in that position before, because you know how they've dealt with it, and you can get that inside kind of information, which I think is so important.
So when you said that you kind of found yourself again, you were finding that passion again for what you were doing, but it meant the UK, but it meant you're living there and your clients are in the UK. How was that for you?
Sorry, there's a little bit in the middle that comes. There's when I was there, because I wasn't getting the clients, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do going forward with hair and makeup, but I didn't know what I could do for people, in the sense that helping them. There's always one thing that I say is, if you look good, you feel good, and if you feel good, you do good. So I was able to do that for people, and I was like, why don't I just start videos? So I started doing these awful videos. When I look back, oh God, awful. Please don't go to my YouTube and just like click on all this.
I'll be checking that out after this podcast.
Just like these god awful videos, which I was putting up online, and it just meant that people were getting to know me without having a conversation with me. Do you know what I mean? And then from that, people were coming up to me like, hey, I saw that video, I learned this trick, and I've met so many people through that, and we've become good friends. And then through that, I've met like clients. So some of my clients have come through YouTube, can you believe? Some of my clients have come through Instagram. So a lot of it has been social media. So I think that little gap in the middle where I was lost before I gave up my kit, I was doing a lot of videos. And I think that's what helped build my confidence up again, to bring my life back to the UK and just figure it out here.
Oh, wow. And what was it like that you thinking, right, I'm living in the Philippines, but as you said, you'd spend months on end by yourself in this apartment in London, working away from home? Because that can sound quite daunting. Like right now, if someone said, right, for 3 months, you're going to be working in the Philippines, let's say on my end. So I'm living in London with my husband. I'll be in the Philippines for 3 months by myself in an apartment, working away from home. And it's away from your comfort. It's away from, and I know you had your family and your friends back in London anyway, but it's still away from your new family, let's say.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
It is hard because you're used to it. But there's one thing that I realized over the past couple of years, that your comfort zone is the zone that you will just die in creatively, like entrepreneurial, like all your dreams will die in your comfort zone. And that's something that I genuinely believe. And the only thing that helps me move from place to place, because I don't know if the UK is the end goal for me. I don't know if I'm going to settle somewhere else in the world. I don't know if it's going to be the Philippines. What I had to work on was building my home, and my home is me. And I just said, as long as I've got me, as long as I've got everything like that I can do for myself, my knowledge, my skills, if I can just build it up to a point where I can up and go anywhere in the world, I don't have to worry about anything. And it's just detaching yourself from material things, detaching yourself from everything outside. And even like like not in a bad way at all, detaching yourself from your partner. Like you're going to go to bed with yourself every night for the rest of your life. If you don't have that relationship with yourself, what's the point? You're never going to find that happiness or that home in anyone else. Yes, you'll find that comfort in your spouse. You'll find that comfort in your mum or your dad, whatever. But if you're not comfortable with yourself, you're just never going to be happy.
That is so, so true.
It's something that I've learned. Yeah, it's something that I had to, it was a hard pill to swallow, I will tell you that much, because I had to cry for hours on end and be like, oh, I don't want to go. But I did want to go. I did want to go, but I didn't want to go. And I was just stuck in that limbo, like, what do I do? And Jay just looked at me, he's like, you are the most important in your life. You need to figure out your SHIT. Can we say that? You need to figure it out. And you need to go and get there. And you need to do it. And he goes, because you don't realize that the value that you can bring to the world. And until you realize that yourself, you're just going to keep doing mediocre work.
Isn't it amazing just how supportive your partner is?
Oh because my God, it is the most important
thing.
He
sounds great. Yes. Not everyone allows you to thrive and dream and think, you know what? Yes, I go and do this. Yeah. There are so many blockers, especially if you are in a committed relationship, married, right? There's so many potential blockers that, I don't know if I want you to be away for 6 months. Oh, I don't know. And also the fact that, you talked about loyalty and trust in a partner. The fact that it's not like, she's going to be away for 6 months or he's going to be away for 6 months. I wonder what they're getting up to. I wonder this. I wonder that. It's almost
mind. I go out for dinner I have so many guy friends. I go out for dinner with so many of my guy friends. I go and meet all these like people. When I network people, it's just one-to-one, me and a guy. He'll have so many female like colleagues. One of his closest business partners is a woman who he's constantly like going all over everywhere with. And he has to tell me, especially when he's in the Philippines, hey, I'm going to be out with my business partner, just in case somebody sees us, where I am. And I'm just like, I don't want you to feel like you have to report back to me because that's not who I am. And he's like, it's not about you. It's about everyone else. As long as you know where I am, that's fine. And the same goes for him. If I'm going to meet somebody, then I will just let him know. But not once does it cross our minds. Like you have to get to that stage in your relationship. And if you can't, then there's a problem.
I agree. But this is a difficult one, right? Especially I guess it just depends on your past experiences and what you've had from your past relationships, let's say, and any insecurities, any trust issues. And that can also then move forward into your future relationships. And that trust element is so crucial in letting each other just go and do your thing. Because you're right in saying, I have my independent life and my husband Akash has his independent life. And it works so well that we're doing our own thing and yet we come together and then we do our thing together as well. But I need that space. You were saying it's great kind of having space and time and just to yourself. And I'm exactly the same. It's amazing. Like I'm sometimes like when he's like, I'm going out in the evening, I'm thinking, I think it was when was it, on Saturday or something? He was like, I'm going to be out for the day. And I was like, oh no, Tuesday. He's like, I'm going to be out for the whole day. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I get the flat to it just felt amazing. Just wandering around by myself in the flat. Not that it's very big, but you know what I mean?
At the same time, isn't it? But I get it. I totally get it. The other thing is we have this thing where both of us go on holiday separately as well. So it doesn't have to be a long holiday. As long as you've got like a 2-3 day break, or you go on a spa weekend with your friends, or he went to the beach with his friends, it's so important. And when we go to destination weddings as well, we don't stay together. We stay with our friends. Because it's kind of like a holiday. I'm on the flow with my friends. We're getting ready like hours before. We're having tea in the room. He's out by the pool with his friends. He wants to chill till like the last minute. He wants to be out late. So we're on completely different wavelengths. You just have to accept it. Like not everything has to be together. And it's funny because my mum always says this to me. She's like, how do you live like this? How do you not want to live with your husband? It's like not about wanting. It's about doing what's right for me first, and then adding all the extra people in your life around where they can be.
I like that you said that you do your own thing, because it's something that we also do. So Akash sometimes like throughout the year takes a long weekend away just by himself in the countryside or whatever, and vice versa. And people like when I tell my friends, they're like, what does he do? Like do you and I'm like, just wants to be by himself. That's why they're like, oh, what does it mean? Like, is everything okay? I'm like, yes,
Yes,
everything
yes.
is
Oh my
absolutely
God.
fine. And
Yeah, that
it's
takes me back. It's just like, the first time I was away, it was because of COVID.
mm,
Otherwise, I'd be in and out of the Philippines like every couple of months. The first time COVID hit, we had so many rumors going around about us that we had broken up. Like, what's wrong? Tell me what's wrong. Like, what's going on? What are you not telling us? And it's just like, mind your damn business, woman.
oh wow.
It's just, we know what's right for us. And we understand that people are going to talk. People are going to say things where they're doing good things. People are going to say things where they're doing bad things. So you might as well just continue doing you. And if we are separate, we're the ones winning at the end of the day, because he's doing what he's doing, thriving. I'm thriving with what I'm doing. And together we can just conquer the world in our own little world. Do you know what I mean? So it's just managing what is right for us and just letting all the noise go in one ear and out the other. And it might be your mum, it might be your best friend saying all of these things, but as long as you know where your heart is, as long as you know where you're going, you might not know where you're going. I don't know where I'm going, but as long as you know kind of where you're going, no one else can interfere in your life. Like, no.
Absolutely. If it works for you and your partner and individually as well,
Yeah.
great. Like that's whatever works for you. It's just keep going with it. And you're right in saying everyone's going to have something to say. If you're doing something good, something bad, there's always going to be opinions floating around. So you might as well just do you and do it anyway. Doesn't make a difference. So there you go.
Nobody genuinely cares. I know people care about your life. Like, let's take that aside. But nobody actually cares more than a couple of days what you're doing. If you give them like half an hour to talk, it's going to be the topic of conversation for 2 or 3 days, and then they move on to something else that is the topic of conversation. So if you're going to keep fretting about what people are talking about, you're only doing your own nutting. It's like not valuable to your life at all.
Absolutely. And now we're moving on to what other people think, because this is something I touched on just before we started the podcast. We were just having a little chat.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing more and more on your social media a bit of your fun dancing side. And I'm literally just there like, yes, you go, girl. Like, you're looking, your dancing is great. Like, it's so good. And I didn't even know you were into dancing. I think it's something you've shown a bit more recently. And I'm just there like, oh my God, like trying to practice the moves. And I love dancing. I'm constantly dancing
on some of the more trending reels.
Oh God, I'd love to. And but I've always been so scared to show that side. Like, even Akash is always like, you're always just dancing around. Like, that for me is, I used to love going to clubs for just the dancing or bars or whatever. Yeah. And I still do. Like, that's why, okay, can't go to the club. Let's just dance at home, whack the music up and just go. And when I saw you, I was like, wow, you know what? Good for her that she's showing her authentic self. This is something that many women, including myself, struggle with, because I feel like, oh, if I'm going to show this side, I'm letting someone in a bit too much, or is it going to impact this, or what are people going to think and say? And it's like, actually, does it matter? And that's the one thing I haven't quite nailed yet. But what was it like for you being more open to who you are and showing the world that?
I think for me, I've always been quite authentic in what I post. So I try to keep to my niche, which is hair and makeup, because I feel like that's what people want to see from me. But it wasn't until recently when I realized that I want to show that I'm more than just hair and makeup. Like, what do I like doing? And I've been dancing since I was about 5 years old. So I've been doing all sorts of classical, Indian, everything. And then I stopped when I was a teenager, I think, and then I just started again at like weddings and things, doing choreography for like wedding dances and all of that. But it's not a business, and that's something that you kind of need to realize. Like, you might be good at something, you might enjoy it, but it doesn't have to be something that you put pressure on yourself and try to create all the time. But the other side, I find it funny that you say, how can you be open? There's one rule that I have for myself on Instagram, on social media, and that is, you can be personal and you can be private, and they're two separate things.
Yes.
Personal, I can share with you what I like doing, my favorite products, what dance classes I've been to, like what I've eaten. But then there are private things, like my parents. Like, I don't show them on Instagram often. I don't show like my relationship with other people. When I go out for dinners with people, I don't ever show it on Instagram, because it's just, I have to understand that as you grow, you need your private life. So I think just figure out what is private and what is personal to you, because anything that is personal to you, as in like Chandni, you can share it. And you do not realize how much people want to see you.
Yeah.
Until you do it. Like, I've been hesitant about posting dancing videos for, I can't even tell you. And my husband's like, why don't you post it? Like, you're always doing these little TikTok dances at home and you just never share them. I said, but I didn't even record them either. So why would I share them to? And you just like post them. You don't understand. And as I posted a couple of them, there were people who were just reaching out to me from like school and like people who I'd met randomly throughout my life. And they're just like, this is so cool, blah, blah. And it's just made me think, why am I again putting these limitations on myself? Just because I am a hair and makeup artist doesn't mean I don't have any other interests.
Absolutely.
It just gives, I feel like a lot of people have this kind of perception that you put yourself out and then you just do that one thing. But as social media is growing and people want you to like show more of yourself, people buy into businesses. Like, I personally buy from small businesses because I like seeing the owner. Like, so why would people not want the same from me? Why am I doing this to myself? Why are you doing this to yourself?
Next thing you know, I'd be posting a dancing video tomorrow, guys.
You should. I can't wait to see it. That's so fun.
God, that will be the day. To be fair,
this is how I do it, honestly. I upload something, and if I'm not comfortable with it, I put my phone down and I walk away. I go and get something from Sainsbury's, I go and do something, I go to the gym, and by that time I've gotten over the fear that I've built in myself of posting something that is out of my comfort zone. And that way it's up, people have seen it, what can I do?
I really like that. You know, exactly. I think that's a good idea. But it's funny we talking about this because when I went to Jamaica with Akash in December, obviously the type of music there is there, like we did a lot of dancing, and I may have done a little bit of like there was a lady there we went on a boat party and there was a bit of a twerking thing going on. And I was like, I don't know how to do this, but you know what, I was practicing at home. Yes, I was practicing.
You know how to do that.
And then I went up and did it. Because it was a boat party, I was just in a bikini. I was like, screw it, Akash was like, just go, this is your thing. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to do it. And I went and I just joined her, and it was so fun. And Akash was recording it. And I was just there like, this is going to no one. I just sent it to my girls group and they were like, woo, like go, like cheering me on. And it was just so hilarious. And I was thinking something like that, like no one would ever know that side of me unless you know me.
But why are you hiding it?
Well, I don't know if it's about hiding it. It's just more a case of, I didn't ever feel the need to show it. So It's just, I don't know. I just feel like, is it going to be something that's going to make any difference to anyone, if that makes sense? So and this is what Akash is saying. He's like, show more of who you are. And I was like, okay.
I realized that through social media, that if you are not educating or if you are not entertaining, there's just no point for the post. So your dancing videos will be entertaining.
Yeah.
And that's just a way to like capture almost a different audience, or see your current audience see a different side to you.
Something, a food for thought. I have to get some weekend dancing in. Oh gosh. But what has been some of your favorite makeup looks that you've done, and why bridal? Because I know you specialize in that.
I do both bridal and party. I used to specialize in bridal, but I realized that it's also fun doing party makeup because they're a bit more creative. What was your question?
Why do you specialize in bridal, or what is it about? What's your favorite looks?
Okay, my favorite makeup looks are smoky eyes, nude lips, clean skin. You see it all over my Instagram. It's something that I think looks good on everyone, any person, any age, man or woman. A smoky brown eye looks fantastic. And so if you're going to come to me and say to me, hey, what makeup look should I do for this event? It will always be some sort of brown smoky eye.
I love it. And I remember when we first met, because I'm not a big makeup person. Like I don't have anything on now, but also I own like probably 3 or 4 pieces of makeup, and they're probably 3 or 4 years old. And I know, don't shout at me, I know they're probably gone past the expiry date or whatever, but it's just not something I have or use much of. And I remember sitting there actually next to you at the dinner table and looking at you being like, oh my gosh, she looks so good. And I was thinking, I wonder how long she spent on her makeup. And you were like, this took me like 3 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? That's how long it takes me. And this is what I look like. And this is what you look like. So I was like, I need some tips. But there are ways in which you don't need, because for me, I always associated, right, putting makeup on and thinking it's going to take a long time. And I've got it to a place where I'm just like 2 minutes, whack some stuff on and I'm done. And it was so refreshing to hear that you, as an expert in your field, does something very similar, albeit it's a very different look to what I have, but you did it so well. And it was in such a short time. So it goes to show that it doesn't need to be so much kind of time and effort into something. You can still create something great and look good.
That's my thing is teaching people how to use what they have and try to create the best look for them. It doesn't have to follow these 15 steps to try and get a full face. Everyone's face is different. You have to work with what you've got. I think for me, when I was first starting out, I only had myself to try makeup on. And I used to get comments like, this was before makeup, I used to get comments like, oh, you're so tired, like what's going on, you don't look very well, like your eye bags are really dark today, like what's going on? And so when I found concealer, I cannot tell you, my life changed. Like I would cover up those dark circles, I would like manipulate my face so that I didn't look tired, I would accentuate my eyes and everything so people would look at me in the eyes and talk to me directly. It gave me a voice, and it's just like the smallest changes can do the biggest thing. And that reflects basically in my work. You can probably see it all over my Instagram. I don't manipulate faces. I don't contour faces to make everybody look the same. I love everybody's individuality. I love bringing everyone's personality out. If you're like a bold person, I like to put a bold eye or a bold lip on you. If you're a simple person, I like to not even put foundation on it sometimes. So it's really person to person. And I feel like it's so important that people who don't wear makeup aren't intimidated to put it on. And I feel like that's a huge thing in this day and age, because you see all these like full glam looks and everyone's like, I can't do that. Well, you don't need to. You don't need to wear anything. It's just a tool to make you feel confident. And if you're confident without it, that's great for you as well.
That's all I say. There's no right or wrong with that as well. Exactly. People want to wear it, if they want to go full face, if they want to leave the house and be like, that's fine. It is what it is. Like, it's almost, you're doing what's good for you, what works for you. So no, it's good that you shared that. So tell us, Sim, what is next for you?
I do have a couple of projects that I'm thinking of doing. Which,
can you share?
I can share some of them.
Okay.
One of them basically is just trying to build my community online and just try to reach more people and see how I can help them. I'm looking at maybe online courses, possibly even go into product development, which I'm unsure about, but it's only because I'm scared.
What are you scared about?
I think I'm just scared of my own levels of perfection, like making sure that everything is right. It's just that kind of standard you put on yourself. Like, if I'm going to put something out there with my name on it, it just needs to be perfect. And I need to remind myself every time, because I do it, that nothing is perfect. But the main reason of doing everything is just to make sure that I am able to help people along the way. So there's no point in me doing classes. There's no point in me doing products if it's not going to lead to value. So I think for me, the first thing to do is, how can I grow my audience? How can I grow like my community? And then we'll take it from there. Depending on how big or like where it goes, I can figure out what the next step is.
I love it. And thank you so, so much for coming on this podcast. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. And it's like, it's been like that restaurant day, isn't it? Just us chatting away and I guess finding more about our views and what's important to us, I guess. And it's been really, really nice.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been really, really nice talking to you as well.
Thank you so much for listening to the Fearless Females Voice podcast. Don't forget, I have a free quiz for you which will help you discover how fearless you are. It identifies where you're being held back in life and will give you some tips at the end on how to improve your mindset and confidence so you are living your best life. You can take the free quiz on my website, www.fearlessfemales.me. Also, I'd love for you to do me a massive favor. If you enjoyed the podcast, then be sure to leave a 5-star review on iTunes. Thank you.